Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick here, dropping in on you. I hope that everybody is having a great week up until this point. I hope that whatever it is that you are uh, aspiring to do and accomplish as you close out this year, I hope that you're on track for it. But remember, no matter where you are, whether you're acing everything or you're in a moment or a phase where you are in a tumultuous situation or challenging turmoil, if you're still breathing, you're still in the fight. Always remember that if you wake up in the morning, you're in a good position, no matter what your brain may be telling you, no matter what people's opinions may be telling you. If you wake up and you are still breathing, you are still in the fight. Look, man, I'm excited. Today is the final Wealth Building Wednesday of 2023. And I'm going to keep it simple, but this simple presentation is going to be extremely powerful for those of you who are looking to make rapid advancements in the idea of financial literacy, awareness, money management, wealth building, creating wealth. I created the Legacy Wealth Academy's flagship program, which is the Path to Generational Wealth. It's an 18-month course. The link and the information is in the description box. This is 10 years worth of research, interviewing, major players in investing and wealth building, learning the entire game, far beyond what my pay grade gave me. So I learned so much that I have since applied to my life, and I continue to apply as I continue to expand my knowledge based on what I learned during those 10 years. And I'm compressing that for you. And I want to talk to you. Today is Wealth Building Wisdom, and I want to talk to you because I posted something on yesterday and someone responded to it, and it opened up something that needs to be discussed. When we talk about wealth building, we always talk about mechanisms, stocks, real estate, precious gems, futures, all these different things that you can invest in, that can help you grow and build wealth. Means absolutely nothing without the proper mindset, without the proper awareness, and first and foremost, simply without the belief that you can do it. Socrates once said that he who believes he can and he who believes he can are usually both right. Later on down the line, Henry Ford repeated the sentiments, and it is true. And the reason being is your belief system governs your behavior. Your belief system governs your expectations. Your belief system sets the parameters of your performance. If you don't believe you can do something, the chances are you're not doing the things necessary to accomplish it. And what you will do in your lack of inactivity, your lack of commitment, your lack of focus, your lack of proper action is reinforce the belief by not producing results. So what you get is a perpetual cycle of a current reality that you have not invested yourself in to change. And that's not just in the area of finance, that's in the area of life, relationships, careers, and in every other area that you perform in life. It is about being willing to say, okay, what I have, I'm not satisfied with, which means I'm going to have to change my approach. But the first step in changing is believing that you can. And if you don't believe that you can change your financial situation, you won't. You will you will find something wrong with everything that's presented to you, and you will judge what's presented to you based on the current paradigm you're living by. And if you're living by a paradigm that has not produced the level of financial freedom that you desire, then what you are doing is walking in something that doesn't work, and yet you are judging what is presented to you based on that paradigm. The things that are going to be presented are not going to be things that the average person thinks, because the average person is thinking based on a common paradigm. Grow up, Graduate from high school, go to college, get a degree, go get a job, earn, save you some money, put some money aside, have your emergency fund. All that stuff is what the average person is taught, if they're taught anything at all. And then what you find out is we have now an entire generation of people, the baby boomers, the aging of the largest generational population ever. They're now in the retirement stages, and they're realizing that the life expectancy is greater than what most anticipated, and they're going to outlive what their savings. And so one person got on, and one of the things they said, the first thing they said was, and this isn't to embarrass anybody, this isn't to attack anybody, this is just simply to talk about mindsets first and foremost. The person said that they wish they could believe that their financial health would be enough. And they went on to talk about that. So the first thing is they didn't believe that they could create a situation in which their financial situation would not only help them, but be able to impact others. You have to believe. If you don't believe, everything else that follows is going to be an exercise. If you exercise or attempt to execute at all. The last thing they said, and there was a long paragraph, they really went into detail of all the reasons why things won't work. And at the end, they said that basically all it takes is one big situation to wipe out their savings or majorly impact their savings. Well, here's the first thing. You cannot save yourself to wealth. And that's the thing I want to focus on here. You are not going to save yourself to wealth. That's an old mindset. Inflation alone is going to disrupt that particular path. In other words, most interest-bearing savings accounts aren't competing with the rate of inflation, meaning that the money that you have in your account is losing value faster than it is accruing interest, and you can't win that way. So then what do you do? And here's another thing that you have to learn. The average millionaire, that's a term that everybody associates with wealth, is millionaire. I don't think you have to be a millionaire to be wealthy if you have a lifestyle that can be supported by what you generate and you don't have to work for it. You're wealthy as long as that's the lifestyle you want to live. There's no number amount to wealth. Wealth is simply the ability to create streams of income that you don't have to work for, that supports your lifestyle and presents assets that can be passed down to the next generation. Okay, now, but let's just say millionaire. The average millionaire doesn't have $1 million cash in their bank account. They have a net worth value of $1 million or more. What does that mean? That means that when you take all of the things that they own and the accrued or accumulated um, value of all of those things, and you subtract all the debt that they owe, that's their net worth. And if their net worth is over $1 million, they are considered and classified as millionaires. They have a net worth value of $1 million or more. But the vast majority of them don't have it. And it's going, I mean, to have $1 million just sitting in an account that's just sitting there absolutely makes no sense at all. So you'll find people with extraordinary amounts of wealth that won't have $1 million sitting in a bank account. First of all, it makes no sense when you can take that $1 million and put it into something as simply as an interest-bearing account, and it will literally work. The goal is to give your money a job. Your goal is to put your money to work. Your goal is to sit up and say, this is what I'm going to do with this money. This is what I'm going to do with this money. Yes, you need to have liquid assets to pay bills, liquid assets to cover any costs or expenditures you're going to do within a short period of time. The rest of that money should be working for you. If you don't have your money working for you, you are literally wasting opportunities and you're putting yourself at risk. Cash on hand is a volatile way to hold your assets. Cash on hand is subjective to the fluctuation in the value of the dollar. And so anyone who's studying and understands the value of the dollar is highly volatile right now and is in great jeopardy. So then what do? You put it into interest-bearing accounts. You put it into appreciating assets. You put it into things that are growing in value at a higher rate than inflation, or things that will simply hold their value, like precious metals and jewels. Artwork is a major place that the wealthy hide their wealth, by buying art and then insuring it. The use of insurance, other insurance mechanisms like annuities. There are so many different places that you can put your money, that your money is going to have a growth. I told you guys before about an experiment that I did, starting roughly about 6 years ago. Now I ended it about a year ago. 5 years, I took a total of 240, what, $245, something like that, 245, 247. Over the course of 5 years, I started out with $5, and then I put $4 and I think 67 cents in per week, for 5 years. And small amount, a total of 200 and some dollars, but I did it over 5, so less than $5 a week after the initial investment of $5, and grew that to $1,400. Put it in my daughter's, my youngest daughter's, trust. But the thing is, that's just that, and I did it as a means of just sitting there saying that's $5 a week. For somebody that's saying, I guarantee you, there's not a person um, that hasn't blown $5, with the exception of the extremely poor who are probably homeless. Everybody has spent something on something you shouldn't have had, or you didn't need, a whole bunch of other stuff that you could have put on that. And even if you are spending on stuff you need, preparing and developing and building and creating a future for yourself that makes it easy for your progeny, your offspring, your lineage to prosper and do better than you, which should be a part of the responsibility of every person, is to ensure that the next generation is in a better situation than them. You're trying to advance the family values, the family wealth, the family and society as a whole. You want to leave the world better than when you found it. And the thing is, we will get excited about everything except the things that we need to stabilize our lives, to provide the lives that we so desperately need. You get on, you talk about sensational things, celebrity gossip, and all this stuff, and people, you can't stop people from hitting the like button and joining in and doing all these things. You get on and you talk about something that requires responsibility in order to create stability, in order to create a life that you can actually be proud of, so you can stop living vicariously through the lives of other people. And it's quiet, because really and truly, we don't want to be responsible. We want to be consumers. We want to spend money. And the idea of not taking that money and having it there, which that's the other part about cash on hand. Cash, the more liquid your assets, the more at risk they are for you misappropriating them. When you have assets that are not liquid, the harder the asset, the less chance you are going to mishandle it, because the process that you have to go through in order to liquidate it gives you time to think about emotional decisions and what you're doing, and you normally don't go through the process. But if all I got to do is take out a card and pay, and it's subtracted out of an account, or reach in my pocket and pull out a wad of cash, then I'm more likely to misappropriate money than to properly apply to something that matters. So there's all these different reasons why you don't want to have a whole lot of cash laying around. It doesn't work for itself. Put your money to work. I often tell the story about Earl Crawley. Earl Crawley is a Black man who spent his entire life working as a parking lot attendant, never made more than $12 an hour. The ironic thing, though, is that he worked in a parking lot where, in the financial district. So the people who parked in his parking lot were stockbrokers, money managers, financial advisors, and he would hit them up for advice. He would ask them for advice. He would write it down. He would actually follow the advice. When Earl retired, again, never having made more than $12 an hour, wife, 3 kids, He had his home paid for. He had put his kids through college, and he had an investment portfolio of over $500,000. That's not bad for a guy that never made more than $12 an hour. What am I saying is the idea that you have to have a certain amount of money before you can start the process is not true. You have to be willing to do something. As a matter of fact, the less you have, the more imperative it is to create means in which you can do it. You start smart. Start smart. There are all these different apps where you can invest for as little as $1. So for as little as $1, you can purchase some stock. I would suggest starting with an index fund like the S&P 500, the S&P 400. There are a couple of other index funds out there that you can get into that produce compound growth annually, which means your interest gets interest in everything you add to it. So you're constantly growing. This is not a get rich quick scheme. It is the long game. But what you're doing is you're building and you're giving meaning to your money versus it sitting in a savings account bearing 2 or 3% interest when the darn inflation rate is higher than that, meaning that you're actually losing money by the money sitting there. You've got to be able to understand how you lose money in different ways. You need to understand taxes. You need to understand how to protect wealth. All these different things are things you have to learn. But you first have to understand that you need to put your money to work. You cannot work yourself into wealth. You are not going to, I don't care how hard you work, you're not going to work yourself into wealth. You may create the means, but you're going to have a strategic plan of what you're going to do with the funds that you create. Second of all, you can't save yourself into wealth. You're never going to take a fraction of what you earn and it end up being 5 times, 10 times, 100 times more than what you've earned. See, wealth is saying, okay, I earned 100,000, but I'm worth $1 million. I earned 100,000 a year, but I'm worth $1 million. Well, did he save all 100,000 10 years in a row? Nope. Took it, applied it, and invested it in different things, let that stuff grow, took the long haul. Over time, he sit up and turned a fraction of what he earned into the greater stream of revenue. In other words, what he earns in his portfolio is more than what he earned in his job. And now he can sit up and decide, I don't want to work the job anymore. I'm going to open a business. I'm going to work my passion. I'm going to become an investor as my primary source of income, whatever it is. But it starts with understanding that you've got to put your money to work. And it takes a lot of learning. It takes a lot of awareness, but there are things that you can get into early that are highly conservative and as safe as you can possibly be. There's no guarantee in anything. There's no guarantee in saying I'm going to keep my job, because you can get laid off tomorrow, especially in right to work states where they don't have to have a reason for terminating it. And so then, and I've dealt with so many people who talked all the time about wanting to start a business, but would never get out there, and eventually got pushed out there anyway and had to learn on the fly. There are no guarantees, no matter how safe you play it. There are no guarantees. It's a bunch of people I got to work with in the early 2000s because I was an international relocation specialist. I dealt with expatriating and repatriating high-level executives for companies. I was the person who brought back all of the expats for Enron. And Enron had collapsed. All those people thought they were safe. All those people thought their 401ks were safe. All those people thought that they had a solid foundation and they were good. And they came back to absolutely nothing. And it's not the only one. That's probably the most emphatic example, but there are constantly situations where people think they're good, and the next thing you know, they're looking up and trying to restructure, rebuild, redefine, and reinvent, and all these different things. And that's life, but you need to know that you have the capacity to do so. You need to know that you have the capacity to sit up and say, hey, look, this is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do it. You need a plan. And the thing is, you're going to have disruptions. You're going to have moments where it's not working. You're going to have situations where there are lean years. You're going to have situations with up and down. I was talking to a friend, colleague Last night we were all sitting down at the cigar lounge, and he was talking about his 20-year marriage, and he's talking about we had money and we got broke. We had money, got broke. And he was just talking about what it takes to make a marriage last. But he was also talking about the fact that life isn't this thing where you hit once and you just own. Life is about being able to know that there are going to be some disruptions in your life. Maybe you don't go broke, but maybe sometimes you're fighting to hold what you have. And you've got to be able to get through that. And the knowledge that you develop and the awareness you develop in any particular area is going to give you the confidence in that area to follow through and do what it is. So the more you learn about money, the more secure you become in it, regardless to whether you have it or not. I've started over. I built an unbelievable empire. Matter of fact, I just talked about one of the businesses that I had in the early 2000s. One of the businesses I had in the early 2000s where I did international relocation, that was a 7-figure annually business. And that was just one thing I had. And then all of a sudden things start to fall apart, things start to collapse. And another area where I was making major plays was in real estate. So I took a major hit when the subprime lending bubble popped and all of the real estate market started to collapse. Took major hits trying to sit up and use funding to save this, save that, and ended up in a bad situation. I mean, rock bottom. But I wasn't afraid. I never became frenetic unglued. Why? I understood money. I understood that there are too many instruments, too many ways to play. And plus, my mind and the knowledge I have itself is valuable. So I already have a commodity to sell, even if I don't have any products. And so I reinvented, took myself online, became virtually accessible, and started to do business and build. Now I have 8 businesses online. And I will deal, and do things in person for certain people. But most of the stuff I do, I'm able to do it online. And I am as effective or maybe even more effective because I can touch more people, I can be in more spaces and still touch. And so I don't spend a lot of time traveling like I used to. Used to be on a freaking airplane twice a week. Easy. And like I say, I'm not gonna play. I had a ball, but it was cool then because I was younger. But and not that I'm averse to traveling now. I like to get out and move around, but compared to doing it like I was doing it, man, like I said, I was gone more than I was at home. And being a single parent with teenagers and having to have them covered while I'm gone, it was crazy, but we got it done. But again, what am I getting at is I come from a humble, meager background. I won't say that we were poor, but we definitely weren't rich. Probably lower middle class in an impoverished neighborhood. My grandmother owned her own beauty salon. My grandfather retired as a master welder for Dresser Industries, which is kind of funny because Dresser Industries they build R rigs and stuff like that. He was a master welder. He built parts that went onto R rigs. One of my clients that I worked with in international relocation was Dresser Rand. So I mean, full circle. It was just kind of weird. But anyway, what am I getting at? I'm getting at the fact that you can get there from wherever you're at. You're going to have to change your thinking. You're going to have to be willing to invest in yourself. There's no free win. You're not going to sit up and something just going to fall out of the sky. You're going to have to be willing to invest. Invest in a book, invest in a course, invest in a mentor or a coach, invest in the knowledge it takes to know what's out there. The crazy thing is, all of the mechanisms that these people like Warren Buffett, like Ray Dalio, like David Swenson, and so many more revealed when I did my research and I did my interviews, and I mean it took a lot to chase these people down. These people didn't know me from Adam, but I was persistent, and that's another thing. You got to be relentless in your pursuits. I was persistent, and over time, eventually, I got almost everybody I went after. The people that I know were the top of the game at what they did. Ray Dalio runs the largest hedge fund on the planet, $165 billion hedge fund. Warren Buffett speaks for himself. And David Swenson turned, Yale's $2 billion endowment into a 22.7 billion endowment. These guys know how to invest. And they're just a few of the people that I chased down over that 10 years to ask questions. Learned about the stock market, learned about real estate, learned about art, learned about insurance, um, learned about how to invest and protect your wealth inside of trust. Learn how to invest and protect your wealth inside of businesses. Learn all of this stuff. So much of which I would have wish I would have known before I hit my rough spot um, in 2007, 2008. But hey, um, it's so much. But again, you've got to be willing to learn these things. You got to be willing to know what you're up against. You got to learn how to do something. You can't stay where you're at in your thinking. Most people are never going to get out of their situation because they won't change their thinking. They won't embrace a new idea. They won't let go of the traditional thought patterns that literally hold them in their place. You are the result of your thinking. Your seeds are your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny. You are literally walking out through what you focus on and how you think, what your future experiences are going to be. Your thoughts, the thoughts that you give the most attention to are literally the foundational blueprint of your future experiences. And if you don't change your thinking towards money, you don't change your relationship with money, you will not change your financial situation in any grand scheme. You'll get the 5% increase. You may get a $10,000 raise going to a different job. That's not major moves. Major moves are the situations that you create for yourself that say, I will retire and what I've invested will produce an income. So the difference in thought is one person is saving to create a nest egg that says this is going to have to support me after I retire. And they're hoping they don't outlive their savings. They're not getting a situation where they can pass anything down because they got to live off of what they set up and they saved. The other person is thinking, I'm creating revenue streams. I'm creating situations that when I retire, I continue to make money. So me having a job isn't a part of my strategy. I don't, and me personally, I'm never going to retire. As long as I've got life in my breath, I'm going to do what I love doing. But the goal is to be in a place where I don't have to do it. I'm doing it because I love doing it. And there's no pressure on me because I've created mechanisms that bring in the income that support me, that also become assets that I can pass down to my children via trust. And we're going to talk about that even more, the importance of protecting and passing down wealth via trust. There's so many benefits to that. But again, these are things that are taught in the course, but these are things that everybody can learn. You have to be willing to change your mindset on what it is you're doing and what it is based on what it is you want and where you are. And so that's what I'm going to challenge you to do. I'm going to get ready to get out there. Like I said, for those who are really serious about doing it, you can enroll in the course right now. Anybody who enrolls before the end of the year will get a free, complimentary uh, gold package, which means you get to work with me for 6 months. I think this, let me look. I want to make sure. Yep, gold package. I want to make sure. Sometimes I've got so many different things going on so many different areas, and but yeah. So the gold package is a $7,950 package. It's a 6 month, 26 sessions. I mean, from A to Z. If you enroll in this course, sign up and pay in full, you will get that with me. So you can get that complimentary gold package just by enrolling in this course and paying in full. Now, the reason I mentioned paying in full is you will have the option to pay in installments. So you can literally get started by paying in installments. But if you pay in full for the total amount of the course, which is $2,695, you get the $7,950 package to work with me along with the course. So we get to go through a great portion of that course together, and I get to break it down, answer your questions. But it's not just about money. It's about changing your entire life, changing your entire scope of thinking, changing your environment, changing so many things around you. So that is what I want you to focus on. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully be working with some of you soon. But whatever you do, don't go into 2024 with the same thinking, the same pace, the same practices that have you in a place that you're constantly complaining about and not happy with. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable remainder of your day.